How are you? This is Vince from Burns Stainless with another episode of Vince in Shorts. So last time we did a video on collectors, and I mentioned that this was probably not going to be the last video that we did on collectors. So this is number 2, and I think this time we're going to talk about the collector outlet sizing. But I would like to mention at this point, if there is anything that you want to know about collectors, just go ahead and stick that in the comments below. So today we're going to talk about collector outlet size. And so we looked at the collector last week. This is a merged collector. And again, as we talked last time, this part here is the actual merged collector. And this is what we call the exit cone. And in this case, it's a megaphone with a reverse cone. Actually, all the sizes are important. But the size here is what is critical. So most people, when they first take a look at a merged collector, they're going to say, hey, that's too small. That's not going to flow enough power out of my engine. Well, they're wrong. They're wrong. And the reason being is because when you look at this, it looks like, wow, this is small compared to this. It can't possibly work. But we have to remember, in an internal combustion engine, only one cylinder is firing at any one time. So really, gas from this size tube is what is flowing into this collector at any one time. And that's why this outlet size can be too small. Now, when you get to very, very high RPMs, when this is, you probably at that point start getting almost a continuous flow of gas, this size gets bigger, and that is true. So for higher RPMs, we'll normally find that the outlet size here is going to be larger than for a lower RPM motor of even of the same horsepower. How do we get to that right size? Well, we have a couple of ways. One, you can always dyno test, and we can build lots of collectors, and we actually would like that. So if you want to test 20 different configurations, we'd be more than happy to build you 20 sets of collectors for that project. But we know that not everybody has an unlimited budget. So the second way that we can do it is through our XDesign computer program, which is a program that we've developed that has our own algorithms that will actually design a header and collector from the basic engine information that you have. And if you go to our website, you'll find a link to that race engine spec form, and you can fill that out, and we can calculate you the size of the collector. But on top of that, also the size of the primaries, the length of the primaries, the tailpipe size, and so forth. So that's number 2. Number 3, there's kind of an in-between option where you can actually have a setup in your own dyno room that allows you to adjust and test for many different outlet sizes. And that is what we call our Dynosys or our BTEC collectors. So the BTEC means Burns Tunable Exhaust Collector, and we developed that just for that single purpose, is to allow an engine builder who has many different engines that he's designing, and maybe they're essentially the same. Let's say a big block Chevy, roughly 500 cubic inches, but different camshaft, different heads, and he wants to test different configurations. Well, this would be the way that you could do that testing. So what we have is we have a merged collector, we have replaceable Venturi sections in the collector, and a tailpipe section. In this case, this is a setup for, as we talked about last time, a drag racing setup or an open header setup where we have an open reverse cone megaphone. So what we have is a standard collector with typically a larger outlet size than what we would most likely want to find in the application itself. Now, we actually, for many of our customers, will actually run through the XDesign program. We'll come up with a nominal outlet size, and then we'll base the design of the Dynosys collector on that. So these Venturis would actually slip in to the collector. They're held on the outside by this outlet ring, and then you would take the reverse cone megaphone and you would place it as so. You would use either safety wire or bolts to hold this thing together, and you could run this on the dyno. In fact, we have many of our racers. In fact, we first made this as a dyno tool, but we found out that there were many racers that wanted to adjust their headers based on their own track conditions. So they can actually get a set of these collectors and actually run them on the car. And if you're running down here at, let's say at Bradenton at the beginning of the year, super dry air, we've got cool air, lots of horsepower, we might want to run a large Venturi. But if you're going to go racing, let's say in Denver in the middle of the summer when the air is really, really low density and you want to help out the driver, you might want to run a smaller Venturi. And it's as simple as removing the outlet, taking the one Venturi out, and replacing it with another Venturi and putting it back together. So it's a really, really slick system, and it does a lot of really good, gives you a lot of testing capabilities. In fact, you really have to be serious about doing your exhaust testing because although it's simple to do, you're going to generate a lot of data, and then you're going to have to figure out what it all means. We've made these in 4-into-1s. We've made 5-into-1s. This was actually kind of the first design that we had come up. This would be the dyno setup, or you could actually run this in a car that's actually running a tailpipe. But you can imagine if you're running a full tailpipe, changing out the Venturis is a little more difficult. So don't have a lot of customers that are running these on a road race car, for example. But again, replaceable Venturis, straight tailpipe, off. We have also done, again, this is a 2-into-1. Now here we have a megaphone and a reverse cone, but let's say you wanted to see what that reverse cone is doing. You can replace that with a megaphone without a reverse cone. And in fact, you can even replace it with this type of an outlet and see what the variations is. That way you can see what length of megaphone that you want, what length of tailpipe that you want. Lots and lots of things that you can test and really understand how your system is running. And we've even done these collectors with mufflers. So you can actually replace the Venturi inside of this setup, put the muffler on, or maybe even have a setup where you have a reverse cone megaphone and a muffler, and you want to test how that works at the track or on the dyno, and it gives you just a wonderful, wonderful tool for how to do this. So that is what we're looking at today, and we thank you for joining us in another episode of Vince in Shorts. Again, let me know, what do you want to hear about? Thank you. This is Vince from Burns Stainless, and if you like these Vince in Shorts episodes, it would help us out if you would click the subscribe button below so that we can bring you more great information. Thank you.